What's going on, Giants fans? It sounds like the Giants are getting closer and closer to hiring their next head coach. Let me know. Who do you want it to be? Type BD for Brian Daboll or BF for Brian Flores. You are watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green, and we have some big Giants head coaching news, rumors, a lot of stuff to break down on today's show. It's a jam-packed show, and I want to thank Matthew Peterson for filling in when Joe Schoen was hired as the Giants general manager. You guys were real nice to him in the comments. I appreciate it. But speaking of Joe Schoen, let's talk about what he had to say about the head coach search. This is what he had to say. We will cast a wide net. It can be formed of head coaches, first-time head coaches, but more importantly, it has to be a person who possesses the ability to lead an organization and the ability to motivate and develop players. And I think that's really important. I really think Joe Schoen is going to nail the head coaching search. And these are the 6 guys who have been confirmed to have interviews for the New York Giants. Brian Daboll, he's getting ready to have his second interview. Leslie Frazier, he had his first interview this past weekend. Brian Flores, he's already had an interview, and there are reports coming out that he will have his second interview by the end of the week. Then Patrick Graham, the current defensive coordinator for the New York Giants, he's supposed to be getting an interview within the coming days. I think Patrick Graham might not be the guy to be the next Giants head coach, but he could be in the running to continue being the Giants defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn, he has also gotten an interview, and so has Lou, I'm going to call him Lou A., the former Giants 2018 defensive back coach. Him and Joe Schoen overlapped for 6 years when Schoen was with the Miami Dolphins, so there's no coincidence that he is a part of this list. These are the 6 guys that have been confirmed to have interviews. Maybe more will come out, but right now it sounds like Brian Daboll and Brian Flores are leading the pack and the only 2 head coach interviews that have been scheduled to have second ones coming up this week. I think this tweet from Paul Schwartz, who works for the NY Post, was really important. It's a 2-part tweet. I'll read it for you. The Brian Flores in-person interview with the Giants will be Thursday. That will be a very important part of the head coach search process. Brian Daboll gets his in-person interview on Tuesday. It's getting down to the wire. Those are my 2 at the top of the list. And then he followed it up with this. Looks like Patrick Graham, under contract as Giants defensive coordinator, will get his shot Wednesday afternoon to interview for the head coach position. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they also put in a request to interview Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator. So whether it's with the Giants, the Steelers, or if he's the head coach, it sounds like Patrick Graham will have a job next year, and good for him. I like what he did the past 2 years. Took a step back a little bit this year, but what he did in the first year can't be denied. One of the best defensive coordinating jobs of the 2020 NFL season. But give me a name. I just gave you the 6 guys that are guaranteed and confirmed to have interviews coming up, but I want to hear from you. Who do you want to be the Giants head coach? Hey, Sean Payton just retired. Maybe it'll be him. I doubt it, but get your answers and let me know down in the comments section. And when the Giants hire their next head coach, we'll be breaking it down on this channel, youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. I want to thank everybody that's hit that big red button. We just crossed over 5,000 subs, over 1.5 thousand subs in the last 28 days. And that's a credit to you guys. I really appreciate it. Grew up a Giants fan, and the fact I get to talk about them every single day is a credit to you, and I couldn't do it without you guys. This is a channel, if you're a first-time viewer, that does nothing but cover Giants news and rumors. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop throughout the NFL offseason, we'll have the best draft coverage on YouTube. Go and hit that big red button. The Battle of the Bryans. Brian Flores versus Brian Daboll. From everything that I've heard and people that I've talked to that are connected to the Giants, these are the 2 guys at the top of the list and the only 2 guys that have confirmed second interviews with the New York Giants. So I want to play a little game of pros and cons between the 2 Bryans. First, we'll start with Brian Flores. I feel like what he did when he first came up and as the New York Giants, or as the Miami Dolphins head coach was very impressive. He came over, they struggled in their first season, but they were a tanking team. He turned them around, and the past 2 seasons, they went 19-14. The thing that I like about him, he demands the most out of his players, and most of the time, he gets the most out of them. The Miami Dolphins the past 2 seasons were not the most talented team in the NFL, but they played hard every week. They won 7 games in a row, and they liked him a lot, at least Some of them did. We'll talk about that. And he's a great defensive coach. He's a guy that loves to get it after the quarterback, put pressure on the quarterback, and make him very uncomfortable. He is a guy that I think bleeds New York Giants blue when it comes to coaching defense. Some cons, my biggest concern is the revolving door that he's had at the offensive coordinator position for the Miami Dolphins. In 3 seasons, he had 3 different offensive coordinators, and as a head coach, you're only as good as your staff. And if you come be the Giants head coach, you have to nail the offensive coordinator position, because it has been a tragedy and by bad coaching job the past couple of years at that spot. The relationship with Tua was something that I was very concerned about. He had some bad things to say about Tua, told Tua he wished they drafted Brian Flores, and there was just some things that I really didn't like that came out once he was fired. The power struggle between him and Greer, the Dolphins GM, is a concern for me. Those are my pros. Those are my concerns. Let me know. What's yours? What's your biggest concern for Brian Flores? And pros and cons for Brian Daboll. He's number 1 at the top of my list, and I want an offensive head coach. And what he's been able to do with Josh Allen, you can't say anything bad about it. Josh Allen, he always had the talent to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but Brian Daboll put him in a position to be great and successful. I'm not saying he'll make Daniel Jones the next Josh Allen, but this is a guy that can put a quarterback in position to be successful. In the past 2 seasons, the Buffalo Bills have averaged the 2nd and 3rd most points per game. He's an offensive wizard, and that's been on full display in the playoffs. He has been one of the best offensive coordinators in the playoffs so far this NFL postseason. Some cons. He's never been an NFL head coach, and that concerns me a little bit. I think the Giants need a guy in there that's done this and done great and been successful in the NFL as a head coach, but that doesn't mean I'm out on Brian Daboll. Like I said, he's my number 1 candidate, but it concerns me a little bit. He's never been a head coach. And he struggled as an offensive coordinator from 2009 to 2012, where he was the offensive coordinator, yes, for the Browns, the Dolphins, and the Chiefs. And in 3 of those 4 seasons, they were a bottom 5 offense. That concerns me. And the run game has just been okay outside of the Josh Allen design runs. If he wants to be the Giants head coach, he has to find a way to get Saquon Barkley on track. But fill me in. What's your biggest concern with Brian Daboll if he were to be hired as the next Giants head coach? I want to hear where all you have to stand on Flores and with Daboll, so get down in the comments, be active, and let me know. Good old Mitchell Trubisky. There are rumors coming out that if Brian Daboll is hired as the next Giants head coach, he could bring Trubisky with him. It would be in a backup role and to push Daniel Jones. I don't think he'd come in and be the starter. And we know Daniel Jones has missed a lot of time, and has a serious neck injury right now. So I think it's time for the Giants to invest in a backup quarterback that could come in and win you games. Mitchell Trubisky gets a lot of bad stuff and his name dragged through the mud, but 29-21 as a starter is impressive. He did make a Pro Bowl, and we kind of all know that that's kind of a joke. The Pro Bowl is what it is. But hey, he made it, and he's made the playoffs twice with the Chicago Bears. His stats in his NFL career with the Chicago Bears has been up and down. His rookie seaseason, he was a rookie. 4-8 as a starter, completed less than 60% of his passes, but since then, his completion percentage skyrocketed, and so did his touchdown to interception ratio. In his second season, he had a 24-12 interception ratio, then 7-10, and then his last season with the Bears, 16-8. This is a guy that I feel like would be a good backup quarterback for Daniel Jones. Mitch as a backup quarterback would not be a bad idea. I think he could push Daniel Jones, maybe learn some from Daniel Jones, and help Daniel Jones grasp the Brian Daboll offense. He currently is the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, so him and Daboll definitely have ties together. But Mitch as the starter, not a fan, should not happen, would be an absolute waste of time. This is someone that already has been not re-signed by the team that drafted him and the Chicago Bears. I like him as a backup, not as a starter, but sound off. What do you have to say? Should the Giants sign Mitch Trubisky as a starter, as a backup? I'm going as a backup. I think he'd be a good guy to help Daniel Jones learn this new offense if Brian Daboll is the coach, which it sounds like he's the lead dog in this race. But let me know. Type S for sign or P for pass. And guys, if you made it this far in the video, show me some love. Give me a follow on Twitter. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers, and I can't do it without your guys' help. I'm tweeting about the Giants all day, every day. Anything that comes out around the Giants, I'm tweeting it out. We can't always do a video about every single detail, but I'll keep you guys informed on Twitter. So hit me up at @MarshallGreen_.